This year seems to be the year of snipers, with Novrich, our brand ambassador, leading the charge to make snipers cool. But let's not forget another category of airsoft guns that are often unappreciated, the shotgun. Over the past few years, we have seen the rise of many airsoft shotguns, ranging from the DM870 series to the game-changing AA12 to the very recent KSG. Old schoolers will even remember the full metal gas and spring-powered 870s from Marushin from back in the 90s, or more importantly, the company that inspired all of the modern shell loading and ejecting airsoft shotguns, Tanaka, and their 870 series. But they have never been what we would classify as very realistic, with many opting for practicality instead of realism, which meant that few operated with shells like the real thing. The best attempt of the past few years was the APS Cam 870, which was made in full metal and used realistic ejecting gas charged shells. While that was a very realistic airsoft shotgun, the Cam 870 still had some shortcomings when it came to build quality and overall performance. Now, what if I told you today that we have found something even better? Something that is full steel, still uses gas ejecting shells, and disassembles and functions exactly like the real thing. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have found the most realistic airsoft shotgun ever made. Hi guys, today we have yet another Model 870 shotgun, this time from Dominator. But what I can tell you, rest assured, this is probably like nothing you've ever seen before. Now let me start by saying this. If Inokatsu were to make a shotgun, it would probably be this, just without that heavy price tag, and more to that a little bit later in the review. Now before I get into the specialness of the Dominator 870, I do want to talk about some of the similarities that it does share with the APS Cam 870. For starters, both guns featured full metal construction, with the APS Cam 870 being a die-cast mixture of both aluminum and steel. Now the Dominator 870 steps up the ante by being a full steel gun, so there's got some weight to it. It's a pretty hefty gun. The second thing was the APS Cam 870 shipped with wooden furniture, so you had a wooden forend and a wooden stock. Whereas with the Dominator 870, it has a polymer forend and a polymer stock, being slightly more weight conscious. Now both guns have CO2 shells, and these are the two that came with the Dominator 870, but Dominator will have green gas shells that will be released for it actually very soon. Other than that, and the front sight posts, which both guns have, they both look pretty identical to each other. But to be honest, and trust me guys, that is where all the similarities end. Now starting from the front of the gun, you're going to find a little secret right inside this outer barrel that's going to put the Dominator 870 over the APS in terms of accuracy and long-range performance. And that is because there is a 6.05 millimeter tight bore barrel that is 350 millimeters long right in here. So you're going to get much better performance. Unlike the Cam 870, which doesn't feature an inner barrel, that really sacrifices your power and accuracy at longer ranges. Now, these are the shells that come with the Dominator 870, and they hold up to 3 BBs each. The shells can be easily loaded into the bottom of the gun here, and you can fit 4 rounds into the magazine tube plus 1 in the chamber, so 5 shots in total. Each shell is made out of metal and a bit of plastic, so they're both very good looking and durable. The gun itself uses a pin firing system where the pin strikes the back of the shell, expelling gas and BBs out the front, just like what a real gun would use. The people who developed this system was Tanaka, and they're the first people to deploy that in airsoft. And that's definitely where the 870 from APS and the Dominator 870 got its inspiration from. Now, it is worth noting though that the dimensions for this gun are a little different from the real gun, so you cannot load a real shell into this chamber, and any attempts to modify this barrel will damage it. So good thinking on the safety there, Dominator. Now as you rack the gun, you will load another shell into the chamber as such. And to add to the realism and the detail of this gun, it features a fully functional action bar locks release. So that allows you to hold down re-rack, and eject the current shell that is in your chamber to be either chamber loaded with a new shell or use the other shells that are in your magazine tube. Really good attention to detail, actually. Moving from there, the real buzz of this gun comes from how easy and authentic it is to disassemble. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, this is by far the easiest airsoft shotgun to take apart, and just in a few easy steps. You first unscrew the magazine cap. Now you hear that clicking sound. That is the same exact sound you'd get from the real steel 870. Very good attention to details. You can push this part in, twist. There is your magazine spring. Let's clear the gun. And you can remove your outer barrel. Inside the outer barrel is the inner barrel, and it's all encapsulated, so you don't have to take it apart. And there is your gun. Very easy to field strip indeed. And there's so many moving parts in this gun, it's very important to have an easy method to field strip it for cleaning and service and maintenance. Because everybody knows a well taken care of gun is going to have a much longer lifespan. Now that we have the gun put back together, it shoulders very well. And there's a little bit of weight towards the front, and it is a little bit heavier gun overall, but it's full steel, so it feels very, very real. This rack is smooth. Very, very smooth. Very satisfying. It's probably the best sounding rack other than the real gun itself, which actually sounds just like the real one. One major feature that the guys from Dominator wanted to ensure that they could deliver was the one-handed rack. And you can do this however many times you want. And I think you guys get the picture. Had to do it one more time. Why are they able to do this? Actually, if you look closely, there is a small silver ring towards the bottom here of the magazine tube, and that is where they welded the magazine tube into the receiver itself. Now, they used the same welding process that was used on the real 870. So this makes the tolerances much higher. So this is not going to disintegrate in your hand like what some other shotguns do. To load the gun, it's really easy. I have a few dummy shells here. All you gotta do is turn the gun around, and you can load it right into the magazine tube like this. It really offers minimal resistance. And for fun, you can even chamber load the gun. And it just lines up perfectly. For the chronoing, I'm using 1 BB per shell with CO2. The BB is 0.2 grams. And it averages at about 365 FPS. So we just chronoed it with 1 BB. If we put all 3 BBs in the shell, I'd estimate the FPS to be about 330. If the gun shoots a little hot, don't worry guys. I'm pretty sure the Dominator will make shells compatible for your country's legal FPS limits. Here we are back at the warehouse, and we're going to do the shotgun test. So just like the KSG, I'm going to take the DM870 and shoot it at 3 different distances, 5, 10, and 20 meters. We'll then take the results back up to the studio and talk to you guys how the spread actually was. So at 5 meters, 10 meters, finally at 20 meters. Fun gun to shoot. Small front sight, but small issue. Now that we're back in the studio, let's talk about those results. Thank you. At 5 meters, we can clearly see the spread pattern very tight, right up in here in the middle. At 10 meters, you have an extremely tight pattern right up at the top. Again, going back to that front sight being a little difficult to read because it's being so small, it still performed really well at 10 meters. 20 meters though, only 1 BB hit. So it went to prove that the DM870 is not a sniper rifle. However, that inner barrel really did perform quite well at 10 meters. So my recommended distance of engagement is between 5, 10, maybe pushing out there a little bit more to 12, 15 meters at best. Throughout this review, we made a lot of comparisons between the Dominator 870 and the APS Cam 870. If you'd like to learn more about that gun, click here for Tim's review.
I'm Tim. Today we'll be going over the APS CAM 870 Magnum shell ejecting pump action shotgun.
I think throughout this review, we have handily answered the question. This is the most realistic shotgun to date. It definitely satisfies all of the needs and wants of collectors and shotgun lovers around the world. That rack is fantastic. The build quality is superb. The field stripping is something of an airsoft shotgun collector's wet dream. It's a fantastic gun, to be honest. And with its higher emphasis on accuracy and performance, I can definitely see that the DM870 will take a bit of market share away from the APS Cam 870. While I don't want to get into the conversation of whether shell ejecting shotguns are practical enough to be used in game, if you want something that's skirmishable, you can always opt for the TM870, KSG, or even the AA12. With those guns, you don't have to run around and pick up your shells at the end of the game. For the Dominator 870 though, this gun was built and designed to fulfill the fantasies of those who can own a shotgun in their countries. With its realistic operation and shells, all of these are the corner foundation to fulfill the fantasies of collectors around the world. So if you fall into that category, this gun is really the one you really want to look at. So in the beginning of the video, I did mention that if Inokatsu were to make a shotgun, this would be the one, and you wouldn't have to pay as much as an Inokatsu for one. And that is true. You get all of this at quite an affordable package. So for realistic guns like this and many more, don't hesitate and check out our website at www.redwolfairsoft.com. I've been Mark, aka Blue Steel, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of RedWolf TV. Have a good one, guys.